Welcome, friends in the industry. This is the podcast by event rental professional Susanna DeVere, and we are having a conversation today with Chantal Roulston. She's the CEO of Chateau, Mille wedding and event venue in Merrickville, Ontario, Canada, and she's been in operation since 2009 already. Chantal has built her venue at her home with unique fun and features. A round party tent is a secluded ceremony space with custom wood archways leading to the space, custom built tables and benches, and other unique features throughout the property to make any event very special. Her space has been enjoyed by many and even offers the calmness of animal friends. Who can offer that, right? Her
Exactly.
venue is located just outside of Ottawa, and the images of this amazing venue will be at the end of this video. Her personal motto or philosophy, let's say, she has developed at Chateau Mille Fleurs, is that they believe in treating every client like family with honesty, fairness, and care. They go above and beyond to create calm connection and trust, stepping in quietly when needed and delivering on every promise they make. Their goal is to offer grace, time, and genuine support so every celebration feels effortless and heartfelt. An interesting fun fact about Chantal is that she's a high school dropout from grade 10. And at 16 walked into and at 16 she had her first child at 16 and then walked into college 11 years later at the age of 27, expecting to finish high school, and then realized she didn't actually need it. So she went on to earn several degrees. So she spent 5 years working on a degree in criminology, a BA in psychology, and a BA in sociology, all while raising 4 kids, getting engaged and having 2 more kids along the way, and a 7th in post-graduation. So she can definitely handle a lot of different avenues and different things on the go with 7 kids. And of course, all of her contact details will be in the description below and at the end of the video again. So let's get started and welcome Chantal.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. That's quite the introduction. You've
That's not
been
what I hear too
busy.
often, that for sure.
No, absolutely. And there's not many people that will have walked that path.
No, no,
No,
definitely not.
no. And you know what? You've come out on top. This is amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So let's get started here. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey and what inspired you to to where you went to this current career path of having a venue at home versus having it somewhere else?
Well, I mean, I've been in the industry for a long time. I started off with cakes and decor. I did some planning and organizing in the background and, help people out, but it wasn't necessarily my path per se, but I enjoyed doing it. Over the course of several years, it just became more and more intertwined between cakes and planning and decor rentals. And, along the way, I've been raising kids, doing daycare for special needs, just, trying my hand at a number of things, but always, was always still firmly planted in the wedding industry. And then COVID hit. And, like many, it was a time to figure it out. 2 years of weddings just poof, gone at all these other venues. Cake orders disappeared. And just prior to COVID, we had a real big life altering change as well. We'd lost our home to a fire. Wedding industry was wonderful. They got behind and rallied and helped me out in ways I just still to this day were amazing. People picked up my cake orders and still gave me credit for the cakes, even though they technically were not being made by me. Other people stepped up further down the road to provide us with space that I could use to continue doing cakes, even though we didn't have a home at the time. And it was wonderful. And then, like I said, COVID hit in the midst of us trying to rebuild our home, and all these weddings went away. And I just kind of went, okay, now what? And I took a job. I was working at the Royal Ottawa as actually in dietary, believe it or not. So, in a kitchen, place I'm comfortable being. I mean, I've been there for so many years with kids. How hard could it be kind of thing? Picked it up real easy, but it was not my passion, was not where my heart was. It was an ends to a means, or a means to an end, I guess is what they say. And one day I was at home up on my porch looking in the backyard, which was just full of scraggly pine trees, and it just kind of hit me. I needed to create something for people that want a place to hold a wedding that's more like home. Basically, their backyard, just not their backyard, because not everybody can afford the 20, 30, 40, $50,000 weddings
Mhm.
that a lot of the other venues command. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I had that kind of money to just, throw for one day, I'd probably do it at least once. Because a lot of those venues are just absolutely freaking stunning, and we are in no way trying to compete or even compare. I wanted something that was just uniquely, I don't want to say uniquely mine, but uniquely geared to family and young families. There's more and more people who are having children young, who are getting married later, and the order of things is just different. But the budgets just aren't there. We've had COVID and tariffs and Trump and just, all the fun stuff that's been going on for the last, it feels like way too long now, that is just having an impact on so many people's bank accounts, job security, but people still want to get married. They still want to celebrate life's moments, and they need a place to do it, and they need a place to do it that is maybe a little more pocket friendly. And I wanted something fun, something whimsical, something inviting, and legit was on my porch and just had a picture in my head. And I was like, yep, that's what we're doing. Told my husband we're tearing these 2 acres of trees out. I want to put a round tent there, but I want it like on a dance floor, like an actual floor. I'm like, so not totally permanent, but kind of. And so we just kind of dove into it. He is an amazing guy. He can build anything, he can design anything, and so he did it for me. And that's
And
just
it
kind of
shows
how.
he is amazing. I've been one of the fortunate people that lucky people to have seen this. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it came about mostly out of a passion to provide a place to have a good time, to not, I don't know, the way to explain it is, how sometimes you go into those fancy, $1 million show homes and you're afraid to walk on the carpet because they've got all the perfect carpet lines in. That's how I feel about some venues when I go into. You're afraid to touch anything because it's like, oh my gosh, can I afford to even entertain if that gets broken? You know? But and not even so much just that, it's just, don't get me wrong, I love bougie stuff. Ask anybody, I can walk into any store and pick out the most expensive item every time.
Yeah,
But reality is reality. We don't all shop that way and we don't all live that way. It's fun once in a while, but it's not an everyday thing. And most of us, we want to have a good time, but we don't want to break the bank doing it. And
exactly.
that was basically the idea, is how we built our own venue. We wanted something people could come to, have a good time, be more in control of their budget, more in control of the space, and not be afraid to have a good time. And that's kind of
Fantastic.
how we've ended up here. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an amazing space. So this is great. In your journey, let's say, what
Yeah.
has been the most challenging aspects of this whole transition, and what did you do to overcome it?
I don't even know if we've overcome it yet. We're still we're still building, we're still adding,
Yeah,
we're still improving. Every day brings new things, new challenges. And you just have to learn to figure out what's going to be a workaround. What can we do to fix that issue? What can we do to improve that issue? What can we do to change it so we just don't have that issue? Um,
exactly.
I have a feeling it'll be an ongoing thing for a period of time until we, really get the space established how we want it.
Yeah.
We still have more things in mind, more things we want to add, and until that
Every
time,
year. Every
yeah, we're
year
just,
something, right?
yeah, basically, yeah. Next year we will have our outdoor bathroom, our actual bathrooms, and a catering kitchen, not intended for like full cooking, but they can do their prep and their layouts and plating and all the fun stuff. But there'll
Hmm.
be appliances in there for them, but actual washrooms. And we're hoping by 2027 we've added some bunkies and a getting ready space, but it all comes down to money and time.
Yeah.
And so we're doing it as we can reasonably afford it, but everything we've been doing ourselves. We
Mm,
aren't hiring it out. We aren't paying contractors to come in and do it. It's all done by us and it's all being personalized to fit the space the way we want it to fit.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And you have a talented husband. So you
I
don't
do.
need to pay anybody and you don't need to hire anybody. That is the beautiful part, right? Yeah.
I
And
mean, he gets paid just, with food.
if it works, why not, right?
Exactly.
Exactly, exactly. In your opinion, what are the key qualities that have contributed to your success to bringing this all back? You started it, you had the fire, COVID happened, and now you're working your way back up like every other person in the event space.
What's contributed to my success? Honestly, the fact that we're a team.
Mm-hmm.
If not for he and I, even sometimes it just comes down to our kids and sometimes it's just them being grumpy and it pushes us on to doing more because we want to be able to provide more. Other times it's just a personal achievement, but mostly I think it's seeing clients when they've been here and they've had their event and when it goes off without a hitch. That's
Mm-hmm.
what makes it.
Yeah. And of course, with every event, you come across different things, how you can, there's always something, right? You said,
There
okay,
is.
because
Yeah.
not every client is the same.
No, they're not, and not every client's guest list is the same.
No,
Yeah.
they are not.
No. No, and have been times. I mean, we've been pretty fortunate. We've had a few incidences over the last 3 years that have definitely been learning curves. And each year, those learning curves are getting smaller and smaller because we are dealing with the things that have caused those issues. Sometimes it's a lack, actually, most times it's a lack of communication or a lack of understanding, not necessarily just from us, but from couples not knowing what is all involved in a wedding. And then generally speaking, I find it's the guests who don't quite understand that the bride and groom are the host and hostess, not the venue, not the staff that may be working on behalf of the venue. It's not us that have really anything to do with the planning, the day, how it's run, what's there, what isn't there, what's been provided for their consumption, right? Because our clients get to stock the bar. We do not, we're not a licensed bar. They take care of the licensing, they take care of all the product. We just provide a bartender and serve it. And, on occasion you get clients who are upset because their whiskey isn't there or their rum or their bourbon. And it's like, well, I'm sorry, this is the client's bar. They're the
Yep.
ones who stocked it. And unfortunately, sometimes people get upset with that and they try to take it out on us. And there's really not much you can do. Just, apologize. I'm sorry. You'll have to take it up with the couple. But right now, they're enjoying their weddings, so maybe not.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And
And
you try to
eventually they'll
say
drink something else.
exactly, and that's kind of the hope. And like I said, these are all just kind of things you learn from. Some things there isn't necessarily a fix for, um, because like I said, it doesn't come down to anything we've done. It just comes down to people's expectations of what they think should be there, not fully understanding that, that not every, I don't want to say venue, but every location you attend isn't necessarily going to have all the services that another place maybe you've been to had. Um, and it's just a matter of finding the diplomatic way to talk that out and get your point
Hmm.
across with without being offended.
Right. No, for sure. For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's always something with every event, and it just is what it is. And it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're an
exactly.
attendee, a host, or running the venue or the event, there's always something that I don't think any event has zero hiccups.
Nope, that is fair to say.
Yeah, I think so. How do you stay motivated to continue to and to thrive in your backyard, let's say, because you don't have to travel anywhere?
I do not, and I think that's probably the best part. I'm
Absolutely.
not gonna lie. As a cake artist, when I deliver wedding cakes to other venues, people are always like, "Oh, it must be terrifying making these big cakes." I'm like, honest to goodness, no. The worst part is traveling with the cake.
Hmm.
Now I just have to travel. I mean, I'm still delivering cakes to other venues, but by and large, I just have to walk several hundred feet and I don't even have to carry the cake. I've got somebody with more muscles who can do it for me. Um,
Fantastic.
and to be quite honest, it's no different with all of the decor and the supplies that we have here that our clients can use. I no longer, I mean, I guess in theory, some of it still gets loaded into our truck, but I'm not carting it upstairs and down hallways and navigating parking lots and traffic and so we're able to include all these things for our clients because we're not having to do all of that anymore. Um, so building that into our price point was just a no-brainer because there's no extra work. I mean, there's a little bit of extra work. Obviously, you've got to
Yeah.
stock it and restock it and take it out and wash it and put it back and account for it and all that. But it's just there's not the same timeline as going to other venues. And I think that's part of what has made this a lot more fun for me is I'm still putting in hours. I'm just doing it in a different way. I get more time to even help in the background, provide advice and guidance where I can, even if I'm not hired for that, if you will.
Hmm.
Uh, I still help where I can because I know not everybody can afford to hire the planner or they don't want to. They want to be the planner, but they still don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, I'm there to pick up the background, the slack and provide advice and guidance where I can. Sorry, I just realized my laptop was not sitting on the desk.
Ah,
Um, but yeah, so I don't know. I think it's just seeing people having the best day is what keeps us coming back to have more best days.
oh, that's great. Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can you tell us about, or how about this? Share a piece of advice that you can give somebody that would be wanting or thinking about following in your footsteps, whether it's a venue at home or in another space close to home.
Study your area. Know what's around you, know what other venues are around, and decide if it's really something, ask the questions. Don't be afraid to reach out to other local venues, find out what kind of hurdles they might have. There's vendors will be willing to talk. Not everyone will answer your questions, but many will. I've spoken with Stephanie at Stonefields, and I've spoken with the owner at Beantown, and I've asked different questions when I've come across things because sure, a lot as a cake artist, a lot as a decorator and a planner and a coordinator. I've been all of it is just different aspects of running your own business. I've run general contracting, I've run trades crews, I have built houses from start to finish. I've done a lot of different things over the years. And at the end of the day, business is business is business. You just have to learn to do your research. And I don't know that every area would be a prime spot to just open up a venue in your backyard. We were fortunate that we have acreage here. We are a small estate of 6 acres, and we are surrounded by properties that are, a couple hundred acres each
Mhm.
that will never be developed beyond what they are.
Mhm.
And so we had an opportunity based literally on location, scope of the property and access to everything I have, it just sort of became a natural progression. Whereas somebody who's maybe just been doing decorating or just doing cakes to jump into the idea of opening a venue might be a stretch. Because there's a lot that goes into it. We had to rezone, we had to get, our neighbors' approvals. We have to deal with traffic and the zoning, not just from our own municipality, but from the township as well. Um, and we've had to do our research with venues within a 50-kilometer radius. What do they offer? What is their capacity? What are their inclusions? What are their extras? What are their liquor policies? What are their noise bylaws?
Mhm.
What are crowd bylaws? Traffic leaving at 1 o'clock in the morning. Just so many different things to look into. And, even just, for example, a small town like Merrickville, there's a lot of venues around here. And or if not necessarily venues, a lot of places that say they can host your wedding. You're doing all the work, they're just providing the property, but it's a lot of work. And it's taking, I mean, we've been running, this is our third full year of doing weddings, and We have had to revamp more than once when it comes to what we offer and how much it is we're including in that offer in order to be both attractive to guests, but also competitive with our neighbors, both the ones that are within a few miles of us and the ones that are 20 or 30 kilometers of us. Some
Mhm.
we aren't trying to compete with at all because we will never be competition. Um,
Right.
because the offerings is just so vastly different. It's just
Mhm.
not even a question of the clientele
No.
those places are attracting versus the clientele we're attracting.
No.
We've found our market. We're not marketing to people with the 50K budgets and up. That's not who we're trying to attract.
No.
We're trying to attract the couples that have the, under $25,000 budget for the whole thing, right?
Right.
The venue, the decor, the cake, the food, the photographer. We're very much sticking to a very specific niche. We're not a cheap venue, but we're definitely not a high-end venue. We're somewhere in the middle. We're offering a lot of fun, bougie stuff and a lot of unique things like our forest ceremony space that make it seem a lot more elevated, I guess is the way to put it, but at a much more affordable price. I can name off venues down in the States that have some things comparable to what we've done, and their price points are significantly higher. Not really a reason for it. It's just it is what it is. And I have found a price point at this point for our different party groups that I'm happy with, I'm comfortable with. It's covering our hours, it's covering replacement of damaged and worn out stock as it comes up. Um, we have policies in place to protect us from things that get broken when it comes to insurance and stuff like that. But just normal wear and tear, things have to get replaced over time. That's not something that you charge your clients for. I mean, and it's built into your price point, right? Like we know the longevity of our tent is 7 to 10 years. So we have to take that into consideration with every single wedding we book. How much can we put aside to replace that tent in the next 5 to 7 years? So those are all things that have to be taken into account. And it's no different if you build a brick and mortar. How
Mhm.
long is it going to last? How often do you have to refinish the floors? What happens when the plumbing tank's out? Do you have somebody that can come in and fix it? What about your appliances? Just there's so many things, but for me, I think we put time and thought into it when we started building, and even since we've opened, there have been at least two more venues within 15 to 20 minutes of us that have sprung up in the last year and a half. So, you've got a small area and a large number of vendors all competing for the same number of weddings now.
Mhm.
So more venues opening up in our little town, not a good idea. It's just going to hurt everybody. But you can't stop anyone. It's a lesson they all have to learn,
That's right.
right? So at some point, it's going to be a survival of the fittest. Quite
Exactly.
simply. Who's going to stick around? Oh, we just had a
Exactly.
I'm still here, but our power just went out for a minute. And so those are all things. It comes down to who's going to keep putting in the work, who's going to keep modifying their offerings or changing what it is they're offering to just continually be relevant, if you will.
Yeah,
And
like with trends, trends happen.
yeah, and that's something that, thankfully I feel we have a decent handle on. Which is, I mean, it's great that we have a huge inventory. Colors are not a concern, fabric style is not a concern. And as we see things changing or what people are using or wanting to use, it gives me ideas. Okay, let's move towards this. And I find also too, a lot of people, I mean, obviously they're throwing their first wedding money people, especially when they're doing their own planning, they really have no idea what they can do. Even with the decor as it's presented to them, they're like, okay, that's pretty, I'll use that. But they don't necessarily know how it all can be used.
Mhm.
And that's where we come in, so we try to show them, we send them ideas. And sometimes some of it's just a little too much for what they want to do. Other times it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, we can do that. So we're constantly trying to improve and show the capabilities, by having small little vendor venue open houses where we invite vendors to come in, show your stuff, show us what you can do, show them what you can do, use the space, and just, and that way when people come out, it's like, oh, I didn't realize you could do that. I didn't know you could do that, right? Because they don't know. They
Not everybody has that vision, right?
correct,
Yeah.
correct. And so we're sort of here to help, excuse me, provide what guidance we can where we can, or at the very least point them in the right direction to the right people that can help them with those things if they can afford it.
Absolutely. And like you said, not everybody has the same budget.
No.
So you've created something for a variety of different budgets.
Yeah.
And your market is not the ones that have 200,000. Your
Nope.
market is, which
I
is
mean, don't get me
great.
wrong. I'd love to see a $200,000 wedding here. What I think you could do with the tent and florals and
Yes.
just the
Oh,
ambiance that you could create if you really wanted to, I think it would be hella fun to see, but it's
yes.
not something we're seeking.
No, no. And, being where we are has, I think, a slight factor in that,
Oh, yes. Yes. And
right?
that's something that we have definitely put in. Like I did the same demographic study when I was doing cakes.
Hmm.
And I mean, I'm still doing cakes, but people are like, oh, you could charge so much more for those cakes. I'm like, sure, if I was in Toronto or downtown Ottawa, maybe I could command even slightly more. I said, but out here, a cake that I would sell here for about $600, I could probably garner 1,300 to 1,400 in Toronto.
Hmm.
Just to give you an example of the different level of expectation and price point.
Hmm.
Um, but I know I'd never sell a single cake if I did that
No,
out here, right? It wouldn't matter how beautiful the cake is. If they're not going to pay, it doesn't matter.
no,
And
the budget isn't there. The budget's not there.
yeah, and so though those things have been brought into our considerations with everything that we do. And, that's why we let our clients stock the bar because
Mhm.
not everybody has a minimum $3,000 or $4,000 bar budget to pay a venue, plus the taxes, plus the gratuities. It all adds up. It matters quite nicely. Um, but when the booze is gone, the booze is gone. That's it, right? The wedding, the party's not over, the booze is just gone. But it allows the clients to control the budget. There is no, okay, for this bar package, it's $3,600 for your 50 guests. And then, if you don't hit that threshold, you still got to pay it.
Right.
I don't agree with that. Like, pay for what you consume, but you know, if you're providing it, guess what? All the leftovers are yours. The unopened boxes you can return. They are yours to do with as you please. And that's just kind of how we feel it should be. Like even with the caterers, we ask, people ask us who for referrals, and we will hand them a list of names. We're tell them you can hire whomever you wish. Just be aware that not all two caterers are going to be the same price point, even for the exact same meal. We've seen some of our caterers give us prices for like $85 for a fabulous meal per person. And then we've had vendors in Ottawa quote the exact same meal, the exact same service product, and it's two or three times the price.
Right.
The food isn't any more expensive out there than it is here.
No,
Sure, there's a bit of extra transport involved to come from Ottawa versus, say, Kempville,
mhm.
but to be triple the price, not a chance.
No, no. And,
I'm
and this
not
is
saying I'm
how
trying
you
to
found your
call,
market.
yeah, so I'm not saying I'm trying to call anybody out at
No.
all. Everybody does what they do for head and commercial spaces to rent, and those price points vary from
Hmm.
location to location. So I get it. But if you hire within the region area you're having your wedding, you're likely to get a better price point because you're
Absolutely.
hiring local. They don't have to go as far. The commute's
Exactly.
not as far for them, for their staff, for anybody. And
Hmm.
so it helps to keep your prices more affordable. And
Hmm.
yeah, so the vendors we refer fall into those dynamics who understand where we are, who our neighbors are, and I don't literally mean my neighbors, but the surrounding smaller towns where the socioeconomic status isn't the same as downtown Ottawa.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think this was fabulous. I'm so happy that you were able to make time to have a conversation today, and I'm thinking our listeners and viewers will gain some insight on
I
your
hope so.
experiences. Absolutely.
Hopefully, I haven't offended any of the higher end venues because that was not my intent.
I doubt it. They're in a different world.
Exactly.
You're in a
Exactly.
natural environment.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I'll let the viewers know we're going to add on some pictures of your facility, maybe some of the animals as well, because they're all so cute. We
They
can add them
are.
on to
They
the
are.
end of the video so that you can see a little bit more about this unique space.
Sounds great.
So thank you so much, Chantal.
Thanks for having me.
And yeah, best of luck. And of course, keep growing your business.
Exactly. Thank you so
Hmm.
much.
You're welcome.